Hello and welcome to Jennifer Knatters. I'm Jennifer and this is my knitting and nattering video podcast. I mostly talk about my knitting and a few other things I've been up to. Thank you for joining me. If you're a returning viewer, thank you. It's great that you came back. If you're a new viewer, I hope you like it. If you're not interested in knitting, probably not so much for you. But if you want to just sit, possibly have a cuppa, I've got turmeric latte, really, turmeric tea today, and yeah, hopefully I lost that thought. Sit down, have a cuppa, and join me for a wee natter. I've just got, if you watch my podcast, if you watch this, you will know that about half of the year I have a cold. I still have a cold. We're still at half of the year. So I've got my tea to drink, but I've got everything else next to me. I have not worked on a lot, I'll be honest. I basically have no progress to show. I think I did 2 squares on my memory blanket, so I'm not going to bother showing that. I did a few rounds on my sock, which is my walking around project. Not enough to show there. I did work on just making sure it doesn't unravel, my quarter to quarter blanket. I am still on the first ball. I would have finished, but I'd gotten like 2 more rows of the green up, and then I realized on the row below I had missed one of these little segments that you knit into, or crochet into, sorry. I'm not usually a crocheter, so I'm just not used to saying it. So I ripped back to that point and started again, and then noticed that 2 rows below that I had done the same thing. And I had that traditional, can I live with it? And I decided that really I will be happiest if I pull the whole thing out and do it properly. So that's what I did. And I've got a peak stitch marker, which is where I had to pull it back to. So I finished the purple row, and then I've come back on the green, and that's as much as I have done. That was like 2 days progress, because I was working on this really strong for 1 week, and then I kind of set it aside to try to work on other things, but really only worked on one thing. So that's my crochet to crochet blanket, corner to corner crochet blanket, and it is Serdar Color Wheel, and I think the colorway is something like Follow the Rainbow. If you want to buy it, you can buy it. It's still on promotion. It's 40% off at Wool Warehouse, which is where I ordered it from, which I know because I'm almost done with, I've got 3 balls of this, and I'm almost done, and it is not as wide, which is this, like this bottom side. It is not as wide yet as I want it to be. So I will need at least 1 more skein going into the increases. So you figure a skein and a half for increases, a skein and a half for decreases, but I do want to add some length to it. So I bought another 2 balls. So yeah, I will have 5 balls total for this. It is still on promotion. If you see this and you think, oh my goodness, I have to knit a crochet a corner to corner blanket. It's actually really fun. I grew up in the 80s. I was born in 81. And so crochet was largely like, oh, the 70s, ugh, the epitome of bad taste. So I've always kind of had a thing about crochet. My mother had lots of crochet books, and they were all brown and orange and green and the occasional rainbow. They were all granny squares. They were all one and all things that you could not possibly imagine wearing as a child in the 80s or a teenager in the 90s. So it's good that crochet is making a comeback, and I'm happy to get on board the corner to corner blanket. It's a lot of fun. I did talk last week about how I do not know how to crochet. I crochet the odd thing. I have a couple hooks. I've made a few like little toys. I'm not averse to doing like a crochet trim on a binding or thing. And I wish there wasn't so much of a division between we are knitters, we are crocheters. I think both skills are useful to have, and if one is more your thing and the other is less your thing, then that's fine. But I know like some knitting magazines have occasionally snuck in a crochet project or a project that requires a tiny bit of crochet, and they get letters complaining like, how dare you, this is a knitting magazine, not a crochet magazine. I don't know if the same applies to crochet magazines when they sneak in a little bit of knitting, but people get really upset. Like, that is not who I am. I do not know how to do that. And it's like, well, you could learn. There's instructions. That's what I did. I watched video tutorials to learn how to do this. So my corner to corner blanket is a lot of fun. I do have to stop because it puts strain on my hand in a different way than knitting. I'm just going to pick it up again. It puts strain on my hand in a different way than knitting. So I do have to kind of switch back and forth, but I think that kind of option is good because repetitive things are what will get you. But I did order, because I had like the old classic, just aluminium, just a straight with the hook at the end. And so I did order a set of Prim crochet hooks. This is a 4.0, which is somewhere in like the G range in the US where you have the alphabet. Because it's supposed to be an ergonomic one, but when I crochet I really choke up. So my finger here is where I feel it. But it is more comfortable on the rest of my hand to hold. I just need for myself either to have less of a neckline, or I'm trying to figure out how to do it without holding on with that finger. Because I think if I was just doing it like this, it would be better. Or maybe if I was doing it, but then it just feels so long. Anyway, I can only do this. I've got some glare coming right across. I don't know if that's showing up or if it's just something I'm seeing, but maybe I can move the camera slightly. No, that's not really helping, is it? I think we just have glare today. I'm sorry. I've got the window open. There it is. We'll point with this hand. The window is open. So there's lots of happy birdies and everything. We're kind of in a lull between a couple of big windstorms, which I suppose I should get to later, but it's supposed to be 9, feels like 7 today. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm sorry. You'd think I would, but I can't. I can do conversions at certain points, like 0 is 32, 21 is 70, and I think 32 is 80. I don't know. See, can't do the conversions. Maybe 32 is 90. Can't do the conversions. I know what cold temperatures feel like in Celsius, and I know what warm temperatures feel like in Fahrenheit, because I lived in a warm place and now I live in a much cooler place. It's still not cold. I mean, it's not properly cold, but it's much cooler. So yeah, it's about 9 degrees today. So I've got the windows open to kind of air out the house. We're supposed to get a really big windstorm. There's a yellow alert, and so the weather service put up a picture and they circle where the weather alert is supposed to apply to, and they have circled the entire country. Northern Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland, all the little islands and their various, the whole country is under a wind advisory. The UK system goes yellow, amber, red. We're under a yellow wind advisory for this weekend. On Monday, the wind was so strong that it literally blew my 7-year-old off her feet. I was holding her hand, fortunately, so she kind of just, went back a tiny bit. Otherwise, she would have, gone right into a small wall behind her, flat on her bum. And then she clung to me the whole time. I was like, I'm never going outside again. I'm like, well, we don't really have big wind. You're 7 years old and this is the first time it's happened. We don't get big windstorms very often. We're getting another windstorm this weekend. And basically all the cold weather, the snow and stuff we usually get, I guess this year we're just getting wind. I'd rather have snow. I'm from California. Snow is magical. rain gets boring. I have a friend who just moved here from California, and they've had a much worse drought since I left. Like, basically, when I left until now, they've had a really, really, really bad drought. So her family's all like, rain! Oh my God, rain! And I'm like, yeah, rain's nice. I mean, like, having rain a lot is nice. I'm a big fan of that, but constantly being out in the rain is somewhat less pleasing. And I'm like, nah, rain gets old, snow doesn't. But rain happens all year round, and snow kind of only happens. So maybe that's why it's still special. Anyway, back to knitting, which is where I was supposed to be. I have a new cast on this week. Maybe I should talk about, I do have one other work in progress, which is knitting, but I haven't been knitting on it. I have pulled out, I forgot to get the little squares. I have pulled out the vivid squares that I knit many moons ago, and I have washed them. Oops, that corner's not very interesting. And I am blocking them, and this is my third color. I'm supposed to have 16 squares, but I am missing one of these mustardy ones. So yeah, I am washing them, I am blocking them. Some of them had been blocked, but they were all crumpled up in the bag together. So I'm washing them all, blocking them all again. And then I will need to knit. They're all in West Yorkshire spinners in their solid colorways. And I will need to knit another square, and then I can seam the 16 together and have just like a little lap blanket or a baby blanket for the next person who says they're having a baby. I forgot to bring the other ones, but my other colors are the pink, which I think is sassafras, the blue I think is bubblegum, the green, I think it's spearmint. There might be more than one green. And then this yellow is butterscotch, and then the white is milk. So I've been doing that, and I wanted to just show my blocking board. I've got a whole bunch of these mats, which I bought when they were on sale from Early Learning Center when my oldest child was just a couple months old. I guess she was like at the cruising walking stage, so like 6 to 9 months old. And on this one, I have drawn a grid. So that's a 7-inch square, and then if you go up, that's an 8-inch square. So I can either do 9, come on up, Libby, 9 7-inch squares, or I guess I could do 5 8-inch squares at the same time if I just pinned the middle corner to the outside corners. And then when you're doing something like blanket squares, you can block them all to the size you want. You don't have to measure or anything. You just pull them out to the lines and get them all the same size. So that is why I have done that. Libby has come to say hello. Say hello, Libby. Hello. Who's my pretty girl? She's not my girl, by the way. She is my husband's. It's definitely my husband's cat. She only comes and sees me when he is not available. And she is shedding because it is starting to warm up. Yes. Who's my pretty girl? So I haven't knit on that, but that is a work in progress. I've had that probably sitting and waiting to be seamed together for 2 years now. I started to knit a purple one, but it was a different brand of yarn because the sassafras is a very pinky purple. So I thought I'd go for a darker purple, but it turned out to be much too dark. So I should revisit my options for that. But I figure I will at least seam these together, and then I can just keep using the same colors, or at least lay them out and decide if that seems like it's good. I can move forward with that blanket anyway. So I have a new cast on, which has between the corner to corner blanket, up she goes, and this project, this is most of what I've worked on, and this is the ribbed bottom for the framework bra by Jessie May. I can't remember her last name, but she's Jessie Made on Ravelry. M-A-E and then D when it's Jessie Made. And this is the framework bralette, and you actually knit it inside out because it's mostly reverse stockinette for the top bits. And it's just going to be a camisole. You can't see my hands, but you can knit it whatever length you want. Mostly, I think, by making this ribbing longer. So you do the ribbing For my size, the pattern suggests 2 3/4 inches of ribbing. And I have a stitch marker, which I think is at 2 inches. I measured for 1 inch and then I kind of eyeballed it for 2 inches. So 2 1/4 inches for my size for the ribbing. And then you switch to these stockinette cups, and then it's straps over the top, I-cord straps over the shoulder. So it's reverse stockinette for the cups. So you knit the whole thing inside out, which matters absolutely not at all on this part. But then you'll get this double wide knit stitch, which will carry up the center band and the sides. And then it's just the stretchiness of the wool that'll give you support. And you can wear it either without a bra or with a bra if you want it to be like a summer camisole. So I figured I'd give that a go. I've been seeing this on Instagram. I follow a lot of plus size knitters, people who look like me, or, you know, more like me than the standard model does. And I've seen several people knit these, or she has another one which is the Ripples bra, and I've been eyeing it for a while, and I thought, why not? I will cast that on. I have the perfect yarn. This is not that yarn. The yarn I picked out was from the fabulous Mr. G, and I got it at the Loch Ness Knit Festival, not this last time, but the time before, so 2018. And it was supposed to be a DK, and I don't know if it got labeled wrong or if it's just the UK hasn't really embraced sport weight, which is supposed to go between fingering 4-ply and DK. So I don't know if it's, I would call it, based on my swatch, like handling the yarn, I would call it a sport weight or a heavy fingering. So I did not get gauge with that, but I can use it. The Ripple bralette is in 4-ply, so I think I can use it for that. But then I went stash diving, and this is Cascade 220, which is supposed to be, I think, an Aran. Off the top of my head, I'm not great at knowing which ones are Aran and which one are worsted. They kind of overlap. It's supposed to be an Aran, but it knits up like a DK. And I got my gauge with it. So here we go. This is leftover. I knit a Lush by Tin Can Knits, who also designed the Vivid blanket I'm knitting. It was a Lush for my older child when she was 5, I think. 4 or 5. And I have 2.5 balls left over, so I'm using that for this. And I figure this is a good test run. I obviously have no objection to this kind of pink, although it's not, I don't know, I'm fine with the pink. It's certainly not something I would normally pick for something that would go under garments, because light colored garments that will completely show through. But that's what I have, and that's going very nicely. And I'm almost to the interesting bit. The lens flare, I think, is getting worse. Can I even? No, it's way up. There it is. Ah, I blocked it with my hand. I cannot keep my hand there the whole time, though. So yeah, lens flare. Not a thing we've had to deal with in the winter, of everything being dark and the year of not being able to cord during the day because my then 2-year-old stopped taking naps very shortly after her 2nd birthday. It was not useful for me. Fortunately, she's now 3 and in nursery, and I have time during the day again. No, I did bring my walking around sock project. So yeah, that stitch marker is where I was. I was almost done with the tube, and then all I've done is about half a heel flap. So not very interesting. This is the RNLI, Royal National Lifeguard Institute, maybe? I'm not sure about the I. Dyed by Helen of Ripples Crafts. It was a charity yarn, which I talked about when I started these. So that's, I haven't had walking around knitting to do. which is why that has not been making progress. I did go to knit night this last week, briefly. I tend to get there early and then leave around the time everyone else shows up, because that's when I have time, but I took the bralette with me. One thing I wanted to show before I misplace everything is that I made a really cute stitch marker. And when I say I made, the amount of work I did was pretty much exactly nothing. It was so simple. This is the stitch marker I made. It's got a little heart that has glitter and hearts inside. And all I did was take it off a keychain and put it on a lobster claw. And I think I just need to cough really quick, so I'm just going to pause it. Sorry about that. Just had a wee tickle, but I also took the time to close the blinds over here. No more lens flare. So this is the progress keeper that I made. This is where I was last time I talked to you, because I don't think I mentioned that. And then I've made it all the way here and more, and then I had to rip back, and then I did some more. So I flipped it over and then turned it around and then flipped it over again. So here's the progress keeper I made. And it's just on a little lobster claw. And it came as a set of 2 stitch markers. They were on sale at Boots. So all I did was undo this jump ring here with a pair of needle nose pliers. And then I got rid of that part and put a lobster claw on. And now I have a pink sparkly progress keeper. Now my thing with progress keepers is, one of the things I like is that they need to be cute, but not so cute that my children steal them from me. These ones are too cute. My children keep stealing them from me. So I've had to hide them and defend the one in my bag vehemently. But I have had to defend them. They keep trying to steal them from me. So they're too cute. But I am trying to keep an eye on Boots is like Walgreens. It's a pharmacy beauty chain. And then like Tesco and Asda, which are grocery shops. I'm trying to keep an eye on like their seasonal bits and bobs, jewelry and keychains and stuff for when they're on clearance, and if they have nice things that I can take apart to make stitch markers. I've been buying, like I bought a bunch of Halloween stuff, and I think I have some Christmas stuff that I can then take apart and put on stitch markers, and then I'll have lots of seasonal stitch markers and that kind of stuff. So what was the other word? Progress keepers. So that's my little craft project for this week. It was very easy, and it's nice to have cute little stitch markers. So now into acquisitions. I have previously shown you, I have these 3, they're all upside down, aren't they? I have these 3 colors from Giddy Yarns, which I got with the look to make, there we go, okay. Giddy Yarns. Doot, 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 doot. And I've got it, this was the October Pines, and I dropped them, I'm sorry. January Blues and Juicy June. Doot, doot, doot. And I already showed you October Pines. So I have those with an eye to do a blanket for me, because these are very much the colors kind of in my room. And I thought I will check back and see if there are more colors that I can kind of round out the gradient with. And in stock, she still had May Blooms, ta-da, which is teals. So now I can do the greens, the teals, the blues to the purples and do kind of a gradient. This is also largely how I organize my cupboard. I just have pinks and then it's blue, teal, green. Because I hang my shirts up by rainbow color, my tops. And then I emailed her to ask if there's any chance of a pink one. There's only a couple colors listed in the shop. There's the ones that I have, all but one of which is sold out. I think the purples is the one she still has. Excuse me, sorry, I just had a little... so if there's a pink one, I think that will round it out. But I've also kind of been looking at it and thinking if she doesn't, then that's just going to make the purple pop really nicely. So it'll be kind of, you know, like spring flowers where it's mostly the greens, and then there's kind of the blue flowers and some purple flowers, which is how my garden looks. I do have yellows and reds and stuff. I do have and some oranges. The daffodils will be coming up soon, the yellows and the oranges, and they look so nice, especially this time of year. But my preference is for blues and purples, so I have a lot of those. So yeah, when I hear back from her, the purple one is still in stock. I could maybe even get another one of the purple instead, or just keep it as the occasional purple pop. I'm sorry if you can hear that. These woods behind my house are very commonly used for dog walking, and someone is yelling at his dog. But yeah, I think this is going to make such a lovely blanket. I just don't know what blanket to do yet. But I've got my corner to corner one. I've got this lush one that has been sitting, not lush, vivid one that has been sitting there for years waiting to be finished. And I've got my mitered square Cozy Memories blanket that I'm working on. So it is not something I'm rushing for. It is definitely something where I am taking my time and enjoying, anticipating the knitting. My other one is a subscription yarn. It is a mini Gamercraft Yarns mini club, and this is the January yarn. So if you're waiting for yours and you haven't gotten it, which with my 13 subscribers I don't imagine is the case for anyone, but if you are, just, you know, pause or look away. These are the colors, and I won't tell you what color I think that one in the middle is. I won't say much. And unfortunately, my 3-year-old got a hold of it, so the ball band is off and it's all a bit smushy. So gaming crafting, and this is the minis. You get 3 minis a month. One of them is supposed to be sparkle, and I don't see a sparkle, but there was also, I think, November, all 3 of them were sparkly. So as long as it evens out, if you're in the club long term, I don't know. So that's my yarns. I know Angie of Gamercraft Yarns was saying it's been a heck of a month, so I'm just happy to have my yarn in beautiful colors. They're not really my colors. The middle one obviously is one of my colors. I'm not so much for the other colors, but I can appreciate what they are, and I can use them either for gift knitting or what was I going to say? Trade them for something else down the line with someone else, because I can always do a mini swap, which is just the nature of doing a mystery mini club, is you don't know what you're going to get, and sometimes you get things that are absolutely perfect for you, and what's absolutely perfect for me is not absolutely perfect for another person who signed up for this club, and vice versa. And you use the challenge to either expose yourself to new colors or have something you can swap down the road. So there's that. My notes are on, so I was just looking at my notes. Libby has come back, if you can't tell, because now I've got a tail again. My notes right now are on half the page they normally get, because my 7-year-old, she's 7 now, got here first and drew a picture, and it says, "I love Mum and pushing." She drew a pushing. So my notes are a bit more cramped. I think the only other thing I have to talk about specifically is I got, just before I started recording this, I hope I didn't flash, it says "nice bum," and underneath "who gives a crap." And this is a trial pack which is all the different things they do, which was free, and then you sign up for the subscription service. And it has all the products they do. I just paid shipping to get this, which I think was £3. So it's got kitchen roll, 3 different types of loo roll, and I don't know what the different types are, and then some tissues. My husband has already taken a tissue to try, because we all have the cold that I have, and it is very much, we also have like a bunch of consumptives, especially when we first wake up in the morning, and we're all blowing our noses. Actually, Catherine, my 3-year-old, I dropped her off at nursery today, and I did not have to wipe her nose before I got a goodbye smooch for the first time since she's been going to nursery. So anyway, the subscription service would just be for one of the types of loo roll. I use cloth for the most part, that I then wash. I mean, I was doing nappies anyway, so it's no difference between washing nappies and washing personal cloths. So I've just got this to try, but yeah, I was washing, I think some people call them family cloths, reusable loo roll, which sounds pretty hardcore, but when you're already washing nappies, it is no further distance to do that, especially because then I replaced the disposable wipes with these cloths. I could even take them with me and a little wet bag. So I put dry ones on, and then you can just get them wet. Water bottle, or usually there's a sink. So you can wash your hands when you're done. If you have a baby changing station somewhere that does not have a sink, that is a problem. People need to wash their hands. That's not okay. But I do also carry hand sanitizer, so a non-alcohol based hand sanitizer. Anyway, I still use the cloths at home, even though Catherine is potty trained now, touch wood that she's not having an accident at nursery right now. But yeah, I kept using the cloths. When I switched to them, they were so much easier for cleaning. Christina was the baby at the time, so much easier for cleaning bottoms. And especially I find when I'm menstruating, it's a lot easier to clean than it is to use paper that is dissolving in your hand while you're using it. But my husband and my children still use paper loo roll, and I thought this would be nice. Someone I know on Twitter, I mean, it's been in my ads on Instagram for forever, which isn't a way to sell a product to me, but someone else I follow on Twitter, Louise Tilbrook, was talking about how she's using it, and the only downside is that you get this huge box, and where do you put it? We have a big garage that we don't put a car in, so I do have room to store a large box of loo roll, but this is all made from recycled paper, not newly cut down trees. As you can see, they're wrapped in paper, they're not wrapped in plastic. They come in a box. It's much better for the environment. So I've got this starter pack. We will see if my husband has a preference. I don't imagine my children do, because at nursery and school they'll be using, the thinnest of single plies, where you have to take, I know it's cheaper, but then you wind up using 3 times as much anyway. So not a cost saving. Single ply is not better. But these are all 3 ply, and I know they're different kinds, and I don't know what they are, but we will see what he likes, and then hopefully we can do that. There's kitchen roll and tissues there, and for most stuff we use hankies, and then I've got a bunch of kitchen cloths, which are just like when you go to the groceries, go to buy your groceries, they'll have, like in their dishwashing section, scrubby cloths, just like woven from a rough cotton. I just use those. My mother had one that she would use for like a week. She'd wash it once a week, and that was the one she used. And that's not, by the end of the week I never wanted to use it. So we just have a whole tub of them sat on our windowsill, and then basically every time you need to use one, if you only use it a little, you rinse it out and hang it up. But basically at least every day I get out a new cloth, and they just get washed when I do laundry. So yeah, that's same thing with the hankies. Right now I'm doing 1 or 2 loads of laundry a day so that we have enough hankies for 4 people. We do not have enough hankies for 4 people. when we don't have colds, it's like, oh, where am I going to store all of these hankies? And right now I'm like, I will put some on this radiator and some on that radiator. So no matter where you are, you can pick up a hanky and have something to use. And they're nice and warm on your nose most of the time too. That was a bit of a digression and probably more than you wanted to know about our personal habits, but cloth is not icky. But when you do have really bad colds and you're blowing your nose constantly, it is better to have disposable ones so you can use them once and throw them away. Whereas most snot that comes out your nose is just water. It's like when you're outside and it's cold, it's just condensation. There's nothing really to worry about there. So you can, like those hankies, you can kind of hang on to for a while. But when you're filling them rather quickly, like right now I'm using these as if they were single-use hankies. They just go in the washing machine instead of in the bin. Although I did throw one away yesterday by mistake, and then I had to pull it out. Unfortunately, it was a new bin, so there was nothing icky in there. Yeah, trying to focus again. It's been a while since I've talked to people. I spent the whole week like, oh, I should record another podcast. I'm like, no, you just did one. I'm like, but I want to talk to people about knitting and my life and like grown-up things. No, you just did it. I think part of the problem is I haven't been going to the Monday playgroup for a while because Catherine doesn't want to go. She basically never wants to leave the house unless we're going to gymnastics. And she wants to go to gymnastics every day, which is not an option. It's only offered on Fridays, or we would do a lot more gymnastics. But yeah, I haven't been going to the Monday playgroup, so I haven't been talking to grown-ups very much. So I'm a bit hyper. I have done the tiniest bit of gardening. It has been cold. It hasn't been snowing or anything, but it's been cold and wet and windy. So I haven't done a lot of over the winter, and I've been so poorly. I mean, that's the main one. But we've got a trellis of roses growing up the house on the side over here. And I trimmed those back, although I have not gotten them in the bin yet. I just took a little bit of time, and then my kids were like, come pay attention to us. So I had to go in. But they are trimmed, so at least the plants can grow. There's a couple other things I want to trim back. Like can you see them right here? This brown bit is a vining hydrangea on a trellis. Not the big trees up here, but this just right here over my shoulder, over the back of the sofa. And I really want to thin those out for this year because the new growth last year basically just came on top of all of those leaves. So I want to thin and the dead flowers, and they'd continue to fall all year, and lots of raking up. So I do want to thin that out a bit because we get gorgeous bushes of white flowers, the white hydrangeas along there. So yeah, there's a blue hydrangea over here, and this is the time of year when you trim that back as well. And I also kind of need to start thinking about what plants I'm going to sow if I want to sow seeds this year. Because apparently at this time of year they don't need sunlight, they just need to be somewhere warm to germinate. And I do have a couple little plastic frame grow houses on the other side of the house that I could start poking them into when it gets just a tiny bit warmer, but I could have them germinating inside. Not in this room. This room is cold even when I don't have the window open, but they could start germinating. So I need to formulate a plan for that. I'd like to grow more garden food, and the things specifically that I think my children would eat. We've got some strawberries, and we did peas last year, and they loved the peas. Oh my goodness, they cannot eat enough peas fresh from the pods. Chris actually bought some peas in pods for us to eat the other day, and my children picked out all the peas, and I got to eat all the pods, which was fine. Pods are fine, but yeah, they are mad about peas. So lots of peas, lots of strawberries, any fruit we can grow really. We do have some blackberries around the edges of the garden, and my older child will not eat carrots, but my younger child will, so I want to plant some carrots. We'll see how that goes. Sorry, just a little tickle in my throat again. And yeah, so that's that. In family news, I can't remember if I told you, excuse me, I need to call. Sorry about that. In family news, I was just going to say, I can't remember if I mentioned last time that my older child had her parent-teacher conference and got a glowing review. She's doing really well. She's on track to have achieved all the goals for the year before the end of the year. So yeah, that's a good thing. And my younger child, we have increased her hours. She did just 2 afternoons a week in January. So for February, I'm having her go 3 afternoons a week. And then in March, we'll go, one of the days will be a full day and then 2 afternoons. And then I think Easter's in April, early April this year. When they come back after April break, she'll be having her paid place and she'll be going her full 16 hours a week, which is, we'll have gymnastics on Friday and otherwise she'll go every day. So that's exciting. I had a list of things like, as soon as Catherine's in nursery, I'm going to clean up the garage and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do, that. And I, thus far, like yesterday I came home and I put the blue ones on here to block. That was all I did, was I switched off, I think it was the pink ones at the time. I took those 4 off and put the blue ones on. And by the time I finished, I was just like, and my bones felt heavy and I was absolutely so tired I couldn't even sit up. I would have gone for a nap, except I had to go get my kids again in another hour and a half. And when I checked, it turned out I did have a mild fever and I was just absolutely flattened. But then pretty much by the time I got home, like I kind of just sat quietly and did some crocheting, which is probably why there were so many mistakes in it. Like I put out a snack for the kids and then I kind of was just like, I'm just going to sit over here. And I felt better. Like I didn't feel great, but I didn't feel feverish or exhausted or heavy like I had. But like that was my whole 2 hours that I was supposed to have to myself. I basically was just so completely run over that my body shut down for a bit. And there's been, like I've had to go into town and I've had to clean the house for the house cleaners, and I had lunch with my husband one day, which is not I had to, that's an I got to, but that was the block of time I have. I've done I think 2 little plastic carrier bags to the charity bin that's outside of the school, and I've otherwise not done any of the kind of tidying up that I want to do, or the sewing. I really want to do some sewing. I've got like my t-shirts and a lot of them are starting to fall apart at the seams because I've had them for so long. When people talk about disposable fashion, I'm kind of just like, I have no idea what that is, because when you find a shirt that fits, you wear it until it falls apart. Even if it doesn't fit that great, you know, it goes over your body, you wear it until it falls apart. So that's kind of where I am with my clothes, is a lot of them are now falling apart. So I'd like to try making, I've got the cashmere shirt pattern and I've got some fabric, and I bought it a year ago, right when Catherine gave up naps. Like I bought it and then that was the last week she took naps. So I'd like to do that. I'd like to make that shirt for me. And I've got fabric for a project bag that I bought and I'd like to do that for me. So that's why I keep talking about the project bags I'm using, like, what do I like about this one? What do I not like? Is because I'm not complaining about any of the bags. I think they're all beautifully made and wonderfully constructed, and the people have clearly done a great job. It is entirely itty-bitty nitpicky things like, I'd like the handle to be half an inch higher. I'd like the handle to be half an inch shorter, or, a whole inch shorter. The dimensions are this, and I'd kind of like them to be that. It's entirely, this one has really thick batting, and this one has really thin batting, and, where's the Goldilocks moment? Which of the bears am I? Am I the bear who wants it really hot and really hard and really firm, or am I the bear who wants it, that sounded really dirty, I'm sorry. Anyway, the bears each have their own preferences and they're each happy with their own thing. Which bear am I? So talking about the bags is just about helping me figure out what it is I want so I can make project bags for myself, because I can. It is a thing I am physically capable of doing. I have a sewing machine, I have space, I have fabric. I should be able to do this. Now I have time. And I'm going to cough again, so I'm going to say really sorry about that. I was trying to say goodbye before I started coughing, and I did not quite make it. So I will try again. Goodbye. I will thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you did. Yeah, I will hopefully record next week, and I will talk to you then. Thank you. Bye.